Hi, I'm Rachel Ignotofsky, and I'm the author and illustrator of the What's Inside picture book series, which includes What's Inside a Flower, What's Inside a Caterpillar Cocoon, and this book that we're going to talk about today, What's Inside a Bird's Nest. Now, all of these books were inspired by the biology in my own backyard. Today, with Crayola, I'm going to be giving you some tips about how you can explore the nature in your home, how you can take those observations and then turn them into art. And so I would like you to grab your art supplies and get ready for some hands-on learning. This book was inspired by my own explorations into nature. Right by my house, there's a family of bluebirds, and I actually got to watch the juveniles molt and get their beautiful, bright colors and turn into adults. So in this book, we actually follow a family of bluebirds, and it starts with the first courtship, the creation of a nest, a laying of the eggs, and then we watch those eggs hatch and those baby birds learn to fly for the first time. All of my books start with the research. Research is the basis of nonfiction books, and for me, that includes going out and going bird watching, reading lots of very thick books, and of course, talking with experts. And when you take all of that information and turn it into really cool art, something really cool can happen. You can kind of reach a new audience that sees a cool illustration, a cute happy face on the page, and all of a sudden they're kind of tricked into learning. And I'm going to share with you some tips on how you can create some cute little cartoony illustrations that are based on your own observations in nature. When you're out at a park, you might see a bird's nest, and there are many different ways that birds create their nests. On this page right here, you'll see that the different materials a bird uses, the different aspects of their environment, all determine the kind of home that they're going to create for their family. And on this page alone, we see a floating nest in the water, a pendant nest hanging from a branch, a cavity nest that's hidden in a tree or even in a birdhouse, and a dome nest, which is created with little pieces of mud and sometimes spit. My favorite nest, though, is a cup nest. They look like a tiny little woven basket, and in my opinion, is like a little tiny piece of art. And I'm going to actually show you how you can draw your very own little dome nest. So let's get to drawing. So let's draw a bird's nest together. I like to start by drawing the stick that the bird is going to sit on. And it's really cool that you could create a little piece of art using simple shapes. For the bird's nest, I'm creating a cup nest. So that's like a little basket that sits right on top of the stick. Now the bird's nest has a baby bird in it. I like to do a little circle kind of leaning out. And of course, birds have hungry mouths, asking for food, and big cute eyeballs. Now, for the nest, that needs a little more detail. Like I said before, a cup nest is like a little woven basket. So let's put a pattern in it that looks like a little basket weaving. I always like to use patterns whenever I can. I think it makes the art look really graphic and cool. What patterns do you see in nature that you could turn into a graphic pattern? Now, this bird looks hungry. And what do hungry birds do? Well, they make a lot of noise. So let's put a big old music note for this bird to cry out and go, "Give me a worm!" Now, let's pick out how we're going to color in the stick. You know, when I think sticks, I think brown. I think that's a pretty obvious choice, but let's also think about some of the other colors that we can sort of see on a piece of wood or on a tree trunk. So brown is the start, but maybe let's incorporate a little orange, maybe a little red, maybe some green later as moss. So by doing this, you could create something that looks a little more fancy, and also you could really play with blending in the colors together to create something new. Yeah, let's use some green, and that'll help with shading and also make the tree look a little more alive, because things live on top of the trees, they live in the trees, and the tree is alive too. Now, I like to color in my leaves halfway, one color, and then I like to use yellow to blend in with the green, because that just also makes it look a lot more expressive. Now, when you're out in nature, what sort of colors do you see, and how can you incorporate that into your work? I often go hiking, especially when I'm writing a book about something new. I was writing a book about dinosaurs, and I actually went to the Grand Canyon to go hiking to kind of check out all those old rocks, and I was really inspired by all the colors that I saw while hiking around. For my book, What's Inside a Caterpillar Cocoon, I planted milkweed, and I got to see all these monarch butterflies come, lay their eggs, hatch into little monarch butterfly caterpillars, create their chrysalises, and then I got to see the whole process. And the colors that were different between the adult butterflies and the babies were just really inspiring. This nest right here, I think this is inspired by a hummingbird's nest. Hummingbirds make their nests out of all these teeny tiny materials like spider silk and thistle and little pieces of dried leaves and moss. So I like to try to incorporate those sorts of colors into the nest while I'm coloring. While creating my books, I really do like to explore the areas where my subjects will be alive in the wild. So when I was hiking around and watching these bluebirds hatch, I noticed that, when they're first born, they're actually kind of dull colors, but that doesn't mean that we have to color them in dull for this sort of illustration. I think we should have fun, and you should color this bird in however you want. And as the birds mature, they molted and their feathers fell out, and then they became the very bright blues and oranges that you think of when you think of a bluebird. Now this hungry mouth seems to be crying out, so let's really create some color bursts right there, and voila! We've created a bird's nest together. Now that we've finished drawing our nests, let's talk about how these animals use their nests. Now, as you can see, different birds create different style nests. They use different materials, and they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. But nests are there to do one primary thing, and that's to create a nice, cozy spot for these birds to incubate their eggs, and that is the warmth that eggs need to grow. It's also really important for these birds to keep these eggs safe from predators, and these bluebirds are pretty clever. They build their nests inside of a cavity of a tree to make it hard for predators to find them. There are so many different ways that birds create their nests. Some use spit, and some use the surrounding environment to camouflage their nests, and that's another great way to stay hidden. Just like this tailor bird right here, who actually sews their nests together. And a fun fact that I thought was really interesting is about eagles. Eagles create these gigantic platform nests that are the size of cars, and they actually pass those nests down from generation to generation, and they'll use them for multiple years. So I thought that was really cool and pretty cute to think about a nest being passed down like that. So as you can see, there are lots of different strategies and techniques for building a nest. Well, thank you so much for letting me share a little bit of what's inside my book, What's Inside a Bird's Nest. Now, I got a little challenge for you. The next time you're on a nature walk, take some pen and paper with you and draw what you see. If you see a hummingbird eating at a flower, if you see another bird building a nest, take a moment and draw and see what you learn while you're drawing. And I would like to encourage you to check out more videos at Crayola's Art of Learning. And I want you to stay inspired, to stoke your curiosity, go out and learn more. Happy reading, everyone!